You eat meat all the time: beef, chicken, pork, fish, and you barely think about which animal it used to be. Almost every animal on that list has one thing in common: it ate plants. You have eaten cows, pigs, sheep, chickens, deer, nearly every large plant eater the planet grows. There are more than 1 billion cattle alive on Earth right now, raised for exactly this, and almost no one has ever farmed a single lion. Try to remember the last time you saw a lion on a menu. Or wolf, or eagle, or hawk, or bear. You never have, and you never once decided not to. Across almost every culture, on every continent, humans quietly settled on the same rule without ever writing it down. Eat the animals that eat plants, and leave the animals that hunt alone. So why is there never a lion on the plate? A wolf and a cow are both just meat, both muscle and fat and protein. Both animals we could, in theory, raise and cook. Yet one of them feeds people on every continent every single day, and the other almost never shows up in any kitchen in any century. The strange part is that the answer was settled long before anyone understood it. Before anyone could measure a food chain or test a liver or name a single poison, the math had already decided. And you have been living inside its answer your whole life without ever seeing the rule. What makes this strange is not that we avoid predators. It is that nobody ever had to be told. There was no council that met to ban lion meat, no single law that spread from one country to the next. People in the Arctic and people in the tropics, cultures that never traded a single word, all arrived at the same quiet line and drew it in exactly the same place. Eat the grazer, spare the hunter. When a rule shows up everywhere at once with no one anywhere enforcing it, that usually means the rule was never really ours to begin with. It belongs to something older, written into the way life feeds on life, and we only ever noticed it. So why did the line form in the first place? Start with the energy, because the energy almost settles it alone. In 1942, an ecologist named Raymond Lindemann worked out a rule that every food chain on Earth obeys. At each step up the chain, only about 1/10 of the energy carries over. The rest is burned just staying alive, moving, breathing, keeping warm. A field of grass feeds a herd of deer, and those deer carry only about 10% of the grass's energy in their bodies. A wolf that eats the deer carries only about 10% of that. Every time you climb one rung of a food chain, 90% of the energy disappears. That is why a predator is the most expensive meat imaginable. To grow a single pound of it, you would have to raise roughly 10 pounds of prey underneath it and 100 pounds of plants under that. No people in history ever had that kind of surplus to burn on one animal. The energy simply was not there to spend. But is cost really enough to keep a whole kind of meat off every table on Earth? On its own, no. Something worse builds up inside a predator, and it has nothing to do with money. It is called biomagnification. Poisons in the environment, mercury, lead, industrial chemicals do not break down as they move up a food chain. They concentrate. A tiny fish absorbs a tiny amount of mercury from the water. A bigger fish eats hundreds of those small fish and keeps all of it. A shark eats hundreds of those bigger fish and keeps all of theirs. By the time you reach the top, you are looking at an animal that has spent its whole life collecting everyone else's poison. The U.S. Geological Survey has actually measured this. Mercury in a top predator fish can run more than 1,000,000 times higher than the water it swims in. The clearest proof of this almost cost America its national bird. In the middle of the 20th century, a pesticide called DDT washed off farmland into rivers. Algae absorbed it, fish concentrated it, and the bald eagles that ate those fish concentrated it one more time. The poison thinned their eggshells until the shells could no longer hold any weight, and the mothers started crushing their own eggs simply by sitting on them. By 1963, only 417 nesting pairs of bald eagles were left in the entire lower 48 states. The national bird, poisoned to the edge of vanishing from the top of its own food chain. It only began to recover after DDT was banned in 1972. So what does a lifetime at the top actually do to the animal itself? Sometimes it turns a single meal into a weapon. In 1912, an explorer named Douglas Mawson was crossing Antarctica when his expedition fell apart. His supplies ran out, one man was already dead, and Mawson and his last companion stayed alive by eating their own sled dogs. They ate the meat, and they ate the liver. Within days, their skin began peeling away in sheets, their hair fell out, and the soles of Mawson's feet came loose inside his boots. Only one of the two men survived. The killer was hiding in the liver. A predator's liver stores vitamin A, and it stores it at a level that is almost hard to picture. Polar bear and sled dog liver can hold more than 20,000 units of vitamin A in a single gram, thousands of times more than a human body can safely take in at once. Arctic peoples had known for centuries never to touch it. An explorer named Elisha Kane wrote down the same warning back in 1856. Science only caught up later and gave it a name: vitamin A poisoning. And there is one last thing a predator carries. It eats the sick, the old, and the already dead, which means it eats their parasites too. The worm disease trichinosis spreads mostly through the meat of meat eaters, bear, boar, wolf, walrus, and the CDC warns that ordinary curing, drying, or smoking will not reliably kill it. A predator is not just made of muscle. It is made of everything that was ever wrong with the animals beneath it. Every safe bite of meat you have ever taken sits on the safe side of that line, and you never had to think about it once. But maybe you are already arguing with me because you do eat predators. Tuna is a predator. So is swordfish, so is salmon. And that turns out to prove the rule instead of breaking it. You eat those fish because you catch them in the wild, not because you raise them. The energy tax only charges you when you farm an animal yourself and feed it for years. Nobody ever built a farm to grow 10 pounds of smaller fish just to make 1 pound of tuna. The ocean already did that part for free. And notice which fish come with a warning: shark, swordfish, king mackerel, the big predator fish. Those are the exact ones pregnant women are told to avoid because of the mercury stacked up inside them. So even in the one place we do eat predators, the old rule is still standing there, showing up as a health warning printed on the side of the very same fish. The line never actually went anywhere, you just stopped being able to see it. So why do we never eat predator meat? Not because of any one thing, but because of all of them stacked on top of each other. It costs 10 times too much energy to raise. It carries a lifetime of poison. It can hide enough vitamin A in a single organ to kill you and enough parasites to sicken you, and it tastes tough and wrong on top of all of it. But here is the part that should stop you. Humans worked this out before we could measure any of it. Long before anyone had heard the word mercury, or could count a unit of vitamin A, or knew what a parasite was, people were already refusing the wrong meat and handing that refusal down like an inheritance. Every family that ate the poisoned liver, every hunter who died from the tainted kill paid for a lesson that hardened into a rule, and the rule hardened into a taboo, and the taboo became the quiet flush of disgust you would feel right now looking at a lion steak on a plate. That disgust is not squeamishness. It is a memory. It is thousands of years of people paying in full so that you would be born already knowing the answer. And the animals we refused to eat, we did something else with instead. We put the lion on the crest, the eagle on the flag, the bear and the wolf into our oldest stories. It is hard to make dinner out of a thing you have turned into a symbol of power. We did not invent the rule that predators stay off the plate. We just kept noticing it in every corner of the world and built our meals around it. So look at your plate again. The meat on it came from an animal that spent its whole life eating grass, and that is not an accident. It is the end of a line of reasoning that started before you were born, before your language existed, in the simple arithmetic of who eats whom. You eat on the safe side of a border you never saw drawn. Someone else walked into the danger so you would not have to. Someone else ate the wrong liver, so the word could reach you as a rule instead of a risk. The wolf was never on your menu. Something in you decided that a very long time ago, and it has quietly kept you safe every day since. You just get to notice it now.